Good morning. Good morning. It's Friday, everyone, and welcome to Contracting Chatter. I am your host, Luciana Turner, and it has been one amazing week. Okay, before I topple my IG audience over, let me move this over. I'm still drinking my coffee, y'all. Y'all know how I do. I drink my coffee in the morning. As I bring you all another installment of LT&A's Contracting Chatter. How are you doing? I know I alternate between contracting and contractor. It's my program. I'll do what I want to do. Anyway, for those of you who are new to me, Contracting Chatter is where you get a daily dose of legislative regulations surrounding government contracting and business. For those of you who know me, hey, this is just a return of something good in the neighborhood. Good morning, Agata. How are you doing? I am your host, Luciana Turner. I have 20 plus years experience in government contracting. I use 20 plus because quite frankly, I get tired of trying to say when is the anniversary. So it's 20 plus until we get to 30. How about that? So let's do a bit of a weekly wrap up. I've been doing a little bit of setting the attention. I've been bringing you some information. It is good to see you as well, Agata. It's been good to see you. I brought back Contracting Chatter. I go live every day, 7:30 a.m. on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook, I go live on all of my business pages. There's LT&A Consulting Group, LT&A Training Center, and I go live on my personal page, Luciana Turner. I go live on my IG page with LT&A Consulting Group, and I go live on LinkedIn, my page on LinkedIn as well. So it has been a while since I've gone live daily. I morphed my pod I morphed one of my programs, which was Contractor's Conversation, which was my interview series. I turned that into a podcast, which was just named into the top 23 of new government contracting podcasts by, I can't think of the name of the organization because I didn't plan on talking about it this morning. So I received that email like 2 days ago. So that's exciting. LT&A is having its first contractors intensive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's having its first contractors intensive October 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm excited about that. I'm working on a new website. Currently, information is on Eventbrite for it. I'm morphing that. I'm creating a website so that, sorry, I forgot to turn off the notifications on my other phone. Sorry. I'm working on a new website for that so I can bring all of the information, put all the information there. But the contract is intensive. We're going to look at business credit, leadership development. We're going to talk about capture and development. We're going to talk about rates development. You're going to walk out of there with a contracting plan. I don't want it to be another feel good, sis boom ba rah rah rah. That's not what I want. I want it, and it's something that actually happens on higher tier government contracting agencies and companies. The bigger companies attend these intensives quarterly, but they're upwards of $7,000 to $8,000. So I'm recreating the experience for new government contractors. It's an investment. It's an investment in your company. It's an investment in your business development. And it's an investment in your growth. And as it goes on, we're going to do some splitting off, but that's visionary talk there that's not necessary and pertinent for this conversation. So, yes. So currently, if you want more information, you can DM me. There's information out there about the Contractors Intensive. I have facilitators lined up, and I will be dropping their names and their information starting not next week, week after next. So it would be. And good morning, LaVon. Yes. And I would tell anybody who's new to government contracting, invest in education, invest in the learning. It is cost effective to do it right the first time than it is to correct it in the midst of an audit after the government has found findings, because the government doesn't say, oh, well, we're going to forgive the penalties and interest and the fees and then let you correct it. Course correcting is expensive. And then retraining your staff after they've been doing it wrong for so long is expensive. And breaking old habits. We all know, we all have old habits that we've been trying to break or in the midst of breaking. It's difficult. So it's easier to do it right in the first place than it is to develop wrong habits that you have to break. So if you're totally new to the arena, get in here and learn it right, build your foundation correctly, and go from there. For those who need a payment option, there is a payment option. General admission is $11.95. VIP is $14.95. VIP comes with a precursor class, which is the 5 keys to government contracting, and a bonus master class that will take place after the intensive. Now, VIP, I'm capping at 50. The whole intensive is being capped at 150 people. So if you want to be one of the 150 in the room, I suggest you get in the room. So currently, that's what's going on with the intensive. It's amazing. I have veterans in the industry coming in to speak. They're not a whole bunch of people who read a book and coming in. No, they're people who have been in the industry doing the work. So that's what's going on with the LT&A so far. LT&A has some other amazing work going on. I have a masterclass that I'm releasing. I don't have the link ready because, quite frankly, I went to bed last night. Where I'm talking about certifications. I was having a conversation with my accountability group, and it made me realize that people don't understand there are different types of certifications. So when I say you don't have to be certified to be a government contractor, they're not understanding what I'm saying. So I'm having a masterclass on the types of certification, the purpose they serve, and the strategy you need to have. And you don't have to be certified to go after a contract. You don't. I think people need to understand the roles of certifications and what they do. I hear far too often people say, "I didn't get a contract because I was certified." There was there was something else why you didn't get the contract. It had less to do with you and more to do with the company you was trying to do business with. But I'll discuss that in our masterclass. The registration will be open for that masterclass later on today. Look for the announcement. For those of you who are on my LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, there's a link there to get on my mailing list, and so that the announcement for the registration in the class, so you can sign up. Instagram, if you go to my profile, you'll see the link to register to get on my mailing list there. Get on my mailing list so that you'll get the announcements to your email box for when I have, so that you'll have the announcements going to, because I know the algorithm be algorithming on all these platforms. So if you want to stay in the know, get on the mailing list. I think I have a problem with the way certifications are talked about, because they're talked about like they're the holy grail. And I know people have heard me say that certifications are a waste of time, but they never stick around long enough to hear the explanation of why I say that. And that's because most people rush out to get certified and they do nothing else. And if you're certified and can't submit an invoice, what's the point? I always go back to that conversation I had with that contracting officer who expressed frustration with his small businesses because, and it's stuck in my mind, it's seared in my brain, when he talked about he sent back the same invoice 3-4 times and told them what was wrong with the invoice. And they kept submitting it wrong. And they actually can't tell you how to submit the bill to them. They really can't. He actually went as far as to tell them how to submit the bill. They still submitted it wrong, but it was right enough for them to pay it. But when that invoice comes up for audit, so stop being so in a rush to get a certification and be in a rush to get your business contracting ready. I was looking at my algorithm, and then I'm going to get to my weekly summarization. I was looking at my algorithm of what subjects people tune into. When I did my Are You Contracting Ready class, a lot of people didn't watch it. A lot of people didn't even tune in. But when I did my certification one, it spiked. Which shows me the conversation and the focus in the arena isn't where it should be. But I blame that on the way certifications are written about, and I blame that on the way certifications are talked about. And I am a certified firm. My company is certified. I am a certified DB, EB, WB, ACE, W, woman-owned, economically disadvantaged. Yeah, I've got all those acronyms behind my name. But can I tell you, I won my first contract and I wasn't even certified? Having your back end together, understanding your rates, understanding how to lead your team and having your leadership there, because you can win the contract and lose the award. And we're going to talk about that at the intensive. Those are more important than having a certification. And then understanding how to leverage the certification. The holy grail of certifications, which is the 8A certification. Now, excuse that noise if you heard that in the background. The holy grail of certifications, which is the 8A certification. 90% of companies who graduate from that certification fail within 1 year. And they have set asides that only they can bid on. But they fail because, once again, they don't do the work. They rely on the certification. And that's the only certification that I personally believe every government contractor should go for. But if you join my masterclass, you'll understand why I say that. And you'll understand why so many companies that have that certification fail. And then of the 10%, I believe the last time I checked, and I will have to check again. Close your door. I would have to check again. But excuse the noise. I would have to check again. But I believe out of that 10%, 80% of the remaining 10% are bought up by the larger companies. But even that's a strategy. Some companies, some of those owners deliberately scale their businesses to graduate or get near graduation to sell their companies. But that's a strategy in and of itself. So, yeah, that's a thing. So, to do a wrap up of this week, yesterday in particular, I talked about joint ventures. I discussed advanced government contracting strategy. And I talked about it because I had a conversation with a potential client. And that conversation it left me in a bad place, because this was a person who could have gone on to win the contract he was trying to win, but he was trying to do advanced contracting strategy without help. And that's a no-no. I discussed joint ventures, which is when two or more companies come together to form another entity to bid on contracts. And you never want to do that without, one, an attorney, because you're forming another legal entity. And two, you need a consultant, because you need to have your organization reviewed before you do that. And this person was a new government contractor in and of themselves, trying to engage in advanced government contracting strategy, thinking it was a partnership agreement. No, a joint venture is legal companies forming a new legal company. So it's like a partnership, but it's two companies partnering, not two people partnering. Attorneys need to draft a joint venture agreement. And if that joint venture agreement isn't registered, they can't bid. You just can't come up and say, we're going to joint venture and keep going. No, that joint venture has to be registered. They have to go through all the steps that you had to go through when you registered your business. So that's an advanced strategy that you're trying to do on your own. Once again, no. That is something you need to do under the guise of true contracting strategy, true contracting leadership. Secondly, I discussed the repercussions for doing that wrong, which is debarment, which the ultimate one was debarment. There were some other things that was discussed in that conversation, one of which was leveraging a certification, which was the veteran-owned one. If you, as a small business, is certified, I want y'all to hear this. If you are the certified one, especially if you're veteran certified, and they're leveraging your certification, but they want to do all the work, I want you to know your invoicing will show that you are not operating as the prime. Your invoicing will show that. Do not prime on a contract that you cannot fulfill as the prime. If you cannot do more than, I will tell anybody, if you can't do 60% of the work as the prime, do not bid as the prime. Do not allow somebody to use you as the certified company to gain access to contracts that they have no business gaining access to. Your billing will show that you're not doing the work as the prime. It always shows up. And there's certain certifications that are reviewed a lot heavier than others. And that veteran-owned one is one that is reviewed quite heavily. So if you can't operate, first of all, if you're not doing 60% of the work, I know the regs say 51-49, but why even do that? If you cannot prime at a 60-40, bid as a sub, first of all. Secondly, anybody who's coming to you saying you bid as the prime and I'll do the majority of the work, they're setting you up because your invoicing will show that you're not doing the prime. You're not the prime. That will come out. And then the government is not as stupid as people are trying to say they are. It will show up, and it will show up eventually. Every contract gets reviewed. Every contract gets audited eventually. Some certifications get reviewed more than others. Do not put yourself in a position where you will bear all the load, because as the prime, when you get caught, you bear the brunt. They don't go after the sub, they go after the prime. Because you are the responsible party. You are the one that's managing the contract. Don't do that. That's one of the reasons why I actually dug into the legislative history of certifications. That was one of the reasons why, when the whole certification program was introduced, they didn't even want to do it. They wanted to do other things to ensure that contracts were being fairly awarded. This was a concern that they had, and quite frankly, it's been borne out time and time again. There have been various examples of fraud within the certification program. And we, as and I'm talking about the corporate we have to be diligent with how we steward our companies and ensure that we don't allow anyone to utilize ourselves and our companies in the commission of anything that may have the appearance of being unseemly. Yesterday, I also talked about this whole paying a percentage of a contract to somebody. You can't do that in government contracting, and you shouldn't be doing that in business, period. We pay a fee for service, not a percent for service. We need to stop that. I had an attorney on, and she was in my comment section yesterday. It's time for the hookup ministry to end the business. We're in business. up level of leadership. If we need some leadership coaching, I have 2 leadership coaches coming to facilitate at my intensive, and they're both ready to do executive level coaching. If you need some mindset coaching to flip that switch from employee to employer, and for those who have been in this game for a while, who need help taking your leadership to the next level, I have somebody there for you who's going to come in there and do that as well. There are levels to this thing. And then lastly, I talked about the whole bid protest program. I kind of touched on it. Bid protest is if you feel that a contract wasn't awarded correctly, you can actually protest that award. Now, they made changes to the bid protest process. So once upon a time, and the big dogs were good for this, you could just bid protest for the hell of it. And what used to happen, this was a tactic. They would just protest the bid and then go behind closed doors and say, look, we'll just keep protesting this bid to keep it locked up. So why don't you just give us a piece of the work? And then they would come back out and drop the bid protest and then go on about the business. That was recognized for what it was. So with the bid protest procedure change that went into effect this government year, the change was you lose the bid protest, you have to pay all the costs associated with that protest. That can run into the millions. So it's making people more cautious about launching bid protests. The frivolous protests are quieting down. So that's bid protests in a nutshell. However, there are times you need to protest bids. Some of these awards are shaky at best. So there you have it. That's a nutshell of what's going on, what went on this week. Other than I didn't miss where the House Sergeant at Arms they're doing a series of look forwards of what's going on in the 118th Congress. They had their first one Tuesday. So anyone in the DMV, that's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, if you're visiting the area, and I would advise any government contractor, if you're doing business in the DC area, if you're on vacation, take one of your vacation days and make it a business day. You can write off all expenses for that business day. Visit Congress. Check their schedule. I would suggest everybody visit an appropriation hearing. House and Senate both have Sergeant at Arms. They have open meetings. You should go. And I say this for this reason, then I'm going to close up for today. It gives you a better perspective of how our appropriations really goes in this country. You'll get a better perspective for how the whole process runs. Then you'll get a better understanding for how contracts are flowed down. You get a better perspective for how they're funded and awarded. It'll also give you a better understanding for how you should develop your strategy. You'll also get a better appreciation from the perspective of a taxpayer as well. And you won't be so quick to latch on to every headline that comes across your TV screen. This understanding and this cog will help you better understand terminology such as low-hanging fruit. We're in the third quarter of the government fiscal year. So you're getting ready to hear a whole lot of low-hanging fruit terminology. For new government contractors, that's not for you. I'm not saying you can't win a contract. I'm saying it's going to be difficult for you to take advantage of low-hanging fruit season. For those of you who have been in the game and has done the work, you should be on a popping right now. Because your strategy, your strategic plan should have included a ramp up season to take advantage of low-hanging fruit. Depending on your agency. Some agencies spend all their money up front. So there is no low-hanging fruit for them. Some agencies spend all their money on the back end. So low-hanging fruit is the back end. And for those who don't know, low-hanging fruit means at the end of the government fiscal year, everybody has to spend what is remaining of their budget or they lose the money. The money gets deobligated. Nobody wants to lose money because that means they lose their budget. They lose it and their budget gets cut the next year. That's low-hanging fruit. So I'm going to wrap up today's lesson with this, or today's session with this. The plan is important. Putting a strategy on the plan is very important. Ensuring you have learned, counseled, wise counsel on top of all of that is important. And with that, have an amazing weekend. The replays will be up on my pages through Saturday. And then they come down. They're all available on my YouTube channel, LT&A Consulting Group. Have an amazing, amazing weekend. And catch me live Monday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another installment of LT&A Contractor Chatter. Have a good one.